Alright, so let's talk about the common issues of today for everybody. We've got school, we've got work, we've got to care about who and what we vote for. There's just so many responsibilities. It was getting difficult a long time ago, and it's even more difficult nowadays. Wouldn't it be great if you just didn't have to care about those things? If it was just taken care of for you, Wouldn't that be great if you just didn't have to care? Well, guess what? If you were a woman back in the early 1700s, you didn't have to, because you couldn't vote, you couldn't go to school, and you couldn't get a good job. Which brings us to the ultimate feminist of the late 1700s, Mary Wollstonecraft. Bum bum bum! Now, a little background on Mary Wollstonecraft. She was a feminist writer who grew up with, not the greatest of family, just kind of had a rough start in life, and then she became just this amazing prominent figure for women, that she could do everything despite the actual laws of this time that said nope, if you get married you literally have to give up everything you have to a man. When you think of feminists who were actually oppressed, this is someone who comes to mind. This is someone who really comes to my mind, at least, is Mary Wollstonecraft. So a little bit about her life. She lived in London, she had an abusive father, and her mother died in 1780. So it was a bad situation, so she left home to work. She was like, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna make something of myself. And a lot like a lot of us, men and women both, we work many a jobs before we find something that we really like, or even if we do find something we like, we move on to something else because that thing we like doesn't necessarily work anymore. So after leaving home, she became a teacher, and she actually established a school in Newington Green with her sister Eliza and her friend Fanny. And here is when they made this pamphlet, Thoughts on the Education of Daughters, and it was a really cool pamphlet. For that time, it was really progressive and kind of actually, progressive, so. After that, she had a tragedy happen in her life. Her friend Fanny died in 1785. This was very devastating for her, as you can imagine. She went to try to recover at this governess job for the Kingsborough family in Ireland. She didn't really like this work, and she eventually left after 3 years. So this kind of just shows you, yes, women could get jobs back in this time period, but they weren't, the greatest jobs ever. They were kind of you can be a nanny, or you can be a teacher, or you can be a nurse, or you can be barefoot and pregnant, and cooking in the kitchen, and have your husband beat you if something is slightly out of whatever, You had 4 options, and that was it. So after this, she left, and she actually got this really cool job as a translator and an advisor. And she went to work for Joseph Johnson, who was this very influential guy in her life. She had, even though she's, such a powerful woman, she had so many guys in her life that really were, either father figures or, men that she loved, and they were just, these really great guys who helped her, really, discover the world. So, just saying, just because you're a strong woman doesn't mean that you hate men. Mary Wollstonecraft loved dudes. And Joseph Johnson was one of these guys that really helped her along, and he published a bunch of her texts that were, like, radical, along with just other texts, like, so many people's texts that were radical at the time. In 1788, Johnson launched the Analytical Review, of which Mary was a regular contributor. So, like, she was a regular writer. She actually wrote and translated things and advised some people, and it was really cool. And then, 4 years later, in 1792, she wrote her book! Oh my gosh. If you want to learn more about this book, you can click on that little URL there, or you can just, like, Google it. I don't have to do everything for you, because I'm lazy. But this book was all about educating women and how important it was for women to be educated. So, basically, and she was trying to sort of, like, compromise with what the times were by saying, like, hey, if you educate women, they'll be better housemakers. And she also argued for the same dignity and respect that men receive, but for women. Like, they deserve equal rights. No more, no less. So, isn't that cute? She wants equality for women. Now wait a few more decades. I love Gene Wilder. He's awesome. And Willy Wonka. I love that movie. Anyway, so, honestly, she didn't really get to see a whole lot of her stuff, but she's a really cool feminist. Even for her time, she did so much, and she was so awesome. So, getting back to reality. Yes, while it sucks, just remember, you have an option. You can be doctors, you can be lawyers, you can make your own decisions in life, and it's okay. Like, you can do it. I know it seems difficult, but you can adult. It's gonna be okay. And here's some of my works cited. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.